Hey everybody, welcome to our behind the curtains look, behind the scenes. What is that called? Inside baseball, or
Yeah.
how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
look at the Boring Enterprise Nerdletter, where we preview what we're probably going to write about. Every now and again it switches a little bit, but this is like it's a pretty good preview, I think, of times. And then sometimes we hear things that don't ever make it in, and so who knows what
Yep.
happens then.
Bonus content sometimes
Yeah,
happens.
there's like a whole other newsletter waiting to happen just from the ashes of this discussion here. Um, so with that being said, I'll lead off today. I'll talk about what I'm gonna probably write about for our discussion, and then we'll flop over to Yelena.
Sweet.
So I will share my screen. Sure. First up for me, caught my interest. I saw this. I can't remember where I saw this, but I saw somebody mention this. SAP conversational AI is now set
Success.
to maintenance mode,
Yeah.
which totally makes sense,
hmm
but it's also like it's probably one of those, how do you want to put it? Like it's it's almost like it's sort of a consequence of the speed of innovation
hmm
in this part of the tech universe, right?
Yeah.
Because this wasn't around for too long. This was like 3 or 4 years. This was a thing, something like that, and it's already gone kind of in maintenance mode. Existing customers can continue, but like obviously at this point, nobody new is going to jump on this bandwagon and start using this stuff.
hmm
And you can see that there's like the writing is on the wall or in the search engine, I guess,
On the
that
roadmap somewhere.
yeah, everybody who has a product like this is like chucking their roadmap in the trash, right?
mm
Because of all the chatbot stuff these days. Obviously, there's a lot to shake out and a lot to see through, but I am very curious as to how SAP plans to look at the conversational slash language aspect of this new era that we're entering now in AI and machine learning.
Yeah, and
So
it was funny. I always thought, and I think SAP was trying to sell it that way too, that you see how it's called SAP conversational AI. It's not called SAP chatbot.
yeah,
So they were kind of trying to present that it's much more to that, but I guess in the end there really wasn't. And I think conversational AI as such is very interesting, but chatbots, I mean they had their spot in the limelight, so
mhm,
so to say, but from the very beginning, they kind of always seemed like a potentially very short-lived thing
yeah.
by
That's isn't it?
definition.
Yeah,
It's like SAP, like Fiori development model. It's like, good idea, but it's clearly a transitional product to something
yeah,
different. And when it started, you
yeah.
couldn't really see what might come after that, but it didn't seem like the end thing. And the same with chatbots, like always, and implementations were pretty lackluster. So, I mean, there you could do very interesting thing, and I actually was part of IBM's presentation on it on the one of the last decades we had in person. So it was like 2019, if not earlier. So it was revolutionary at that point. But yeah, overall, I think technology outgrew this pretty fast. Yeah, very interesting announcement, though.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'll try to
Mm,
figure out what's going on, but there it is.
mm.
Um, and okay, I promise this is maybe close to the last time I talk about this
Damn
stuff,
it, Paul, not
but
again.
there's this great podcast about the overhype and underhype
Mm,
of generative AI, right? And that's like to me that's a really good way of putting this stuff. And I want
mm-hmm,
to see what these guys have to say about this. But basically, the idea here is that just like any sort of groundbreaking thing, there's like expectations are all over the map, and most of the expectations are going to be deflated.
mm-hmm,
Some corner of the map of expectations of this stuff is going to have their expectations like blown up and done even better than they thought,
mm-hmm.
right? or better than most people thought, maybe is a better way to say it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm very curious to see what that means, especially for business software, right? Because when you look at how Microsoft is rolling out this stuff to like you do your Bing search and you get some stuff with the chatbot and that stuff, right?
Mm.
To me, that doesn't really resemble what you would do in a business software
Mm-hmm.
context, at least most that I've seen, right? Maybe somebody out there is dreaming of a better thing for that, but a thing that might be wrong or might be hallucinating, but still is kind of okay, is probably pretty cool for some consumer applications, but just would not work for like biz appy kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so all of the different ways that this stuff can exist in various ways, I really want to understand what does that actually mean for enterprise software.
Mm-hmm.
So ideas here, thoughts here, and I have some thoughts of my own too. I want to sprinkle in with that. But I tell you, I swear, I'll get off this horse very soon. But I can't help. This is like 20-year-old Paul's dream is to be watching AI happen in various ways, right? And so I can't stop it. Can't stop myself.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive when chatbots can tell me wrong things about the world. Oh my God.
Awesome.
But as a palate cleanser, my third thing, which is kind of a fun thing,
Mm-hmm.
is I gathered together a list of retro CSS libraries. And so
Oh my goodness.
here's two examples, but I have more that I'll reveal
Mm.
on the in the blog post. Of ways you can build your website literally to look like Windows 95 here, right? And the buttons, they really look like,
Oh my
how that
gosh.
all that stuff looked. And then here's one for like kind of a terminal-ish window looking thing,
Mm.
but it's just CSS doing its thing, So I'll put together a couple little fun little things with it of some screenshots and then just kind of
Mm.
talk about some of the other things I found because I want to cleanse my palate of some of this ChatGPT stuff, and I figure a good way to go back to the ancient times of the before times and look at some cool, interesting stuff from back then.
And it still kind of feels strange to me that there is a whole generation of young people who are now working together with us who have not
Yeah,
even been born in 1995.
I
And
know.
I remember when Windows 95 came out, and it was such a revolutionary thing. Really, it was really a huge change because
Yeah,
it's just major shift. Nothing was like in PC world, and at least not in PC operating system
no,
world.
no.
Nothing was since like that since. So yeah, those buttons, they were revolutionary at some point.
Yeah,
This was AI and Chat GPT
yep.
stuff for late 90s. So
It
yeah.
reminds me of all those videos online where you see like some old guy like hands his kids a phone number
Mm-hmm.
and says, "Okay, here's a rotary phone.
Yeah.
I want you to dial this
Yeah.
number."
Yeah.
And they're like, "I don't. What do you
Like
even
that.
do?"
Yeah. They
You know?
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's funny.
that's my set of thoughts and ideas for
Awesome.
our next issue. Um, and I hereby toss the proverbial football or basketball or whatever to
Pass the
you.
baton.
Pass the baton to you.
Baton. Okay.
To
All
you.
right.
Now stop sharing.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna share my stuff now. All right. So I'm gonna be writing about the Awesome Day, and Awesome, it's from obviously Amazon's AWS. It was I think just yesterday. Was 3 hour event. It actually turned out to be better than I was expecting. I was prepared for somewhat salesy pitch.
Interesting.
Yeah, but they had, and I'm not an expert. I know some things about it, but I thought it was
Mm,
very good to hear, especially this introduction to
mm,
AWS, which was, I thought, just on the right level for myself personally, at least. I know this is definitely not for AWS, professionals or someone who
sure.
has been
Sure.
already using it, but for someone like me who knows just enough to understand what they're talking about, maybe
Yeah.
that was just a perfect kind of slightly better introduction. So it was very, very good, and it's now available on demand. If you registered but missed it, you can watch it now, and probably even if you didn't register, you can still go and access all those videos. So this was 3 hours, and this was 1 hour introductions, and Console demo wasn't that interesting. It's pretty much like SAP BTP, that whatever
Sure.
console, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
just slightly better UI. And I missed this innovation session. I'm gonna watch it now to prepare for my story. I think it should be interesting. I caught just a very last few minutes of it, and they were talking about their future plans. I think it would be interesting too. This one just 30 minutes. So
Oh, sure.
if you're at all interested in AWS, and I think everyone should be,
Yeah.
so definitely introduction is really good, but innovation is also interesting session. It's twice shorter.
This is
Then yeah.
I didn't know this was happening. This is
Mm-hmm.
like I'm kind of a cloud guy, so
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of whatever for me a little bit. But um this I love this, and I love this for two reasons. One
Mm-hmm.
is that nice wordplay by AWS, awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and two, so smart to catch, like, what a great thing to catch the people, especially the people like you who
Mm-hmm.
are computer professionals, but maybe not AWS professionals,
Mm-hmm.
right? And get you like, this feels like, I mean, I haven't watched it, obviously, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it happened, but it feels like a pretty quick on-ramp to like Yelena, once somebody like you who is skilled but just not skilled in this
Mm-hmm.
watches all these, I bet you'll have a pretty decent like
Mm-hmm.
set of AWS chops from this, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's funny that I was doing some stuff at the same time because in consulting world we don't
because that's
frequently
life.
have
Yeah,
like three
yeah,
hours in the middle of the workday
yeah.
to just sit there and watch videos. But it was reasonable, presentation. And towards the end, the presenter had kind of very quick pop quizzes, like one question for the audience, and it was
Mm,
just like multiple choice. I totally missed one of them, which was I thought a little bit tricky, but it's funny that on that question, and they were showing percentage at the end after everyone answered. They showed like how everyone did and what was the
sure.
right answer. And it's funny that on that about 40% of the people only answered correctly. So clearly,
Oh, really?
I think presenter maybe missed something there because I was looking at
Right.
the question like, did he even talk about this? I don't know. I think it's this, or I just guessed it. But towards the end, when I actually started kind of tuning out to do something else, he was talking about security in
Mm,
AWS, and security is also important aspect in SAP, and
mm,
everyone in SAP world is somewhat
yeah.
familiar with it. So I just tuned in exactly for the question, and just using my SAP knowledge and kind of very very lightly listening to that, I got three correct answers
Nice.
for everything. Like I got perfect score, and I'm like, and I have no idea, but it's apparently AWS pretty much works the same way as SAP. So it was very very funny. And I liked the slides there. What I liked most is, and I even shared on my Twitter, that in almost every slide, they were talking about, oh, let's talk about like AWS like Lambda or AWS like ES something. I haven't memorized all
Right.
of their nomenclature just yet,
Yeah.
but they always had like use cases. And like for this one, for this storage, like your use case is like, I don't know, media files or something, or like healthcare.
Oh,
That was just super helpful. I thought it's something that like immediately allowed me to connect it to my, oh, okay, so now I get it what it is, because if he started talking about like, oh, let us talk about AWS, blah blah blah, and it is blah, and it's just like you're like whoosh, you will not
right.
understand any of it unless
Yeah.
you already have existing knowledge or vested interest in AWS. But this kind of real life examples of potential applications, that was just super helpful, and I think I will kind of try to learn from that myself and maybe do more of it. It was, yeah, very nice. So, all right. So enough
That.
advertising for
Oof,
Amazon.
yeah.
Amazon, by the way, expecting some
Yeah.
sponsorship deal anytime now. All
Kickbacks.
right.
Come
So,
on, let's go. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Let's go. All right. Yeah, you know where to find us. So, my next item, this is one of those things where you just see a title and you're like, oh yeah, I think I really want to. I see
Ah,
it. I want to share about it. And then you just start watching, and it only gets better from there somehow. So,
holy
so I,
cow.
I only had time for, this is 25-minute video. I had time for 10 minutes, but in those 10 minutes alone, I think there is material for like at least five newsletters in it.
That's
And it is just such a great presentation. And it's just
Wow.
content or style, just everything is like, no, like chef's
Yeah.
kiss material. So the title is Lies Enterprise Architects Told Me, and that's already super funny and relatable.
Yeah.
And she provides some examples here, like her lie number one is we're building a real-time system. And then later
Why?
she talks about what the truth is. And truth is you cannot really define like what real-time means. But there is actually specific meaning when people talk about real-time. They want specific things. They want, okay, we want response to be minimum like this, like that many seconds. Or we want to be able to do something like every 15 minutes or something like that. So there is always something more tangible or more measurable. So she's saying like we do not have all the things, we have requirements. So that is the truth. And
This
yeah,
is
so yeah, just super interesting.
just the title and the slide. This looks brilliant.
Yeah.
Kudos to Gwen Shapira.
Yeah, really awesome.
Wow.
And it was like
I'm
3
gonna
years
watch
ago.
this.
Like it's the first
Yeah.
time I'm hearing about. Is there stuff like this, like sitting for years and we don't know? So this is
Well, we're about to give her a boost of
yeah,
literally millions of clicks.
million subscribers. I mean,
Millions of
it's just 5
subscribers.
likes. I mean, how
Come
silly is
on.
that? 200 views.
We gotta
It's
pump
like
those numbers up.
what? Like you got to be kidding me. It's just
Those are
brilliant, and
rookie
it's
numbers.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, well, I'm gonna watch this tonight. This is like you got me excited about this just by seeing this this screen. I'm
Just
like,
the
oh, I
title.
want to watch
And
that.
I'm telling you, it's
Yeah.
like 10 minutes like this gets I just physically had to go because I didn't have time. But I'm like, I can't wait
Uh-huh.
to watch like the rest of it. This is better than
That's
pay-per-view.
crazy.
All right.
Whew.
And yeah, so
Wow.
my last but not least item will be it's kind of a digest, I would say, or potpourri, however you want to call it. This is on ABAP subject. So I have a few pieces on it, which I think it's a decent collection for one story, but not, each one of them doesn't really deserve a full story by itself. So I waited enough to collect a few of them and just give our readers like major update, I would say. So one items in it was we're still collecting votes for to get back ABAP Platform Developer Edition, which was kind of dropped by SAP last year. And as a community, we're still voting and trying to get it back. So I'm hoping to remind about this. We have written when it was discontinued, it was like RIP ABAP Developers Edition, but
Yeah.
now some nice people entered influence requests with SAP where we can actually vote, and hopefully someone, I don't know, I mean, hope springs eternal, so maybe something will come out of it. I think it was very useful. I used it myself and it supported learning and education, so it was, I thought, pretty big loss for community
Yeah.
overall.
I use it too.
Yeah. And there was also interesting discussion on Twitter about clean ABAP and not clean ABAP itself. But if we go there, so clean ABAP is just a GitHub repository with a guide. As with any open source projects, there is an option for anyone to open an issue to discuss maybe making some changes or just ask questions, etc. So you can see there are 67 open issues and 61 closed right now. I actually came here to ask question about this about the comments. There is certain guideline about how comments should be formatted, and I had the same question. I was happy to find this issue already raised by someone. But as I started looking at them, there are quite a few issues. You can see they have been sitting there for quite a while. This is November 2022. If you go further, there is one that's pretty interesting, but it's been open since 2019. It's still open. No one did anything about it. So I asked like an open question, like who's it, what's going on? Like who's in charge? Like, is anyone looking at it? Because there are some really good input, like this one, for example, fields and SQL statements. Like I have no idea why SAP even added this. And some people said it supports auto completion, but why do we need Word for this? just put out a completion on select and be done with it. So this was just really silly addition, and now we need guide for this. It's just So some very interesting conversations. If anyone is watching or will be reading about this, please feel free to chime in and either create maybe new issues if you see something, or comment on the existing ones. So I hope some kind of movement maybe will happen here, but I just wanted to bring this up, that clean ABAP is not set in stone, that everyone can try and influence it if necessary. And I will also might have like another sort of update, which I don't have anything for right now, but so this will be my kind of ABAP digest, a little bit about everything ABAP post.
I'll just close this one and say, let's keep clean ABAP clean.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, there you have it, folks. These are the thoughts and thinkings swirling around in our heads as we prepare the next exciting issue of the Boring Enterprise Nerdletter. Like, subscribe, share, all the standard blah 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 kind of stuff like that.
Yep.
But we look forward to sharing our stuff with you and hearing feedback and responses. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.